Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. A lonely gravedigger who stinks of corpses finally meets her dream man, but their whirlwind affairs cut short when he tragically drowns at sea. Grief-stricken, she goes to morbid lengths to resurrect him from madcap scientific experiments resulting in grave consequences and unlikely love. The film is called Dead Lover, and it has gotten a tremendous reaction. It premiered at this year's Sundance Film Festival. Welcoming to the program, writer, director, star of multiple roles in this film, Grace Glowicki. Grace, welcome to Cinemophile.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike.
Yeah, I am thrilled to have you on. I have seen some of your other work and I've been a fan, so it's great to see you move into this realm, into the filmmaking, being on the other side of the camera. The film reminds me, because I live in the world of film, I'm a geek. It reminds me of, obviously, we have the Frankenstein thread throughout the film, but there's a little bit of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yep.
There's a lot of gender fluidity in it, which kind of reminds me of that. Reminds me of Guy Madden.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there's a little bit of Moulin Rouge in here too, just a tad
Oh, I
of
like
the,
it.
and just feels like a lot of it. But I will tell you, I love a film that commits. And boy, does this film commit. I really love it when a filmmaker and the people who are along for the ride, your cast and everybody in this film, feels like they were along for the ride as well. So congrats.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I've never heard it compared to Moulin Rouge, but I like it. And I love Baz Luhrmann. He's like so crazy and talk about a guy that goes hard or goes home.
Yes.
So I really like that. I really am honored with that connection.
Well, you're welcome. And the next logical question would be, what inspired you to make Dead Lover?
Sometimes it's hard to trace exactly what, but I think it was probably like I started as an actor in a black box theater in university, and so I really fell in love with just stripped back basic theater with low budgets and very minimal set design and stuff. So I think I kind of fell in love with that aesthetic and that feeling when I started acting in my early 20s. And so that's half of it, maybe. And then the other half is I grew up on really expressive comedies like, Jim Carrey movies, Mike Myers movies. I loved Monty Python. I loved SNL. Love Mel Brooks. So I think it's kind of a weird collision of those two loves of mine, twisting into a little creature to make this movie.
Well, you co-wrote this with Ben Petrie, who's also in the film, who is multiple
Yes.
roles on the part of Ben. So what coming together, what was there a shared sensibility? Did you influence him or how did that sort of play out in the
Yeah.
writing? Because the story is it goes in a lot of directions and
Mhm.
sometimes all at once. And so I'm just kind of curious how that process unfolded for you.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty unusual writing process because it started years earlier with me talking to four different friends just throughout many years, just spitballing character ideas and scenarios and really just kind of having this like impromptu writer's room almost that would happen every now and then over the course of many years. And from those conversations, a gravedigger character kind of evolved and a slight story around her. And then I took that to a clown and a puppeteer and a theater maker in Toronto, and we kind of improved and workshopped on our feet this story that I kind of had. And then I took what we had learned in that studio to Ben, and then Ben and I worked together to take this sort of messy, lumpy story that I created through all these years, and we really honed in. And Ben's wonderful to work with because I feel like I'm kind of an ideas guy, and I'm kind of like a theme person, and I can make a few funny jokes here and there, and I understand character. But Ben is really, and Ben can do all those things too, but he's also really good at writing dialogue, and he really
Yeah.
understands like how to time jokes and he's just kind of a word guy. I feel like he's just one of those guys that's just like he's a writer in a way where I have ideas. He feels like a writer to me. Coming together with him was kind of perfect because we can balance off of each other and yeah, kind of do a little yin yang in the writers' room. So it was a blast. Maybe 2 months before shooting, we came together and just really penned the screenplay.
Dead Lover has a very distinct style. Let's talk a little bit about black box theater. You mentioned that. What is that? What does that mean?
Yeah, so black box theater is just, to my knowledge, when you're in a small theater
Yeah.
and it's literally a square and it's got black curtain and black paint all around it. So it's just a style of a
Okay.
literal like theater building that I think is people associate with lower budget productions, intimate productions, smaller number of chairs, this kind of thing. So it has its own little tradition. It's pretty modest and stripped back, I would
Yeah.
say. I kind of love those theaters.
Well, what you're describing, which you see in the film, really amplifies the approach of lots of crazy close-ups, the camera movement in order
Yeah.
to kind of elicit different kinds of reactions to what's happening, zooming in, zooming out, obviously in a smaller frame. So, and it gives also provides the actors in the film a kind of physicality within that frame
Hmm.
that you
Hmm.
really lean into the expression you see in body language and body
Hmm.
movement, but it's also the expressions on your faces. So really very effective in the film.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really like more than anything, I love performance. So there's something so that liberates performance so much when you work in this way because there's not much going on visually. So kind of all you have is the landscape of the actor's body and face, and the costume and the props and stuff. So it was, yeah, kind of permission to go really big and to lean into pushing the expression of actors kind of as far as we could.
It's very effective, and that's where I was kind of the Moulin Rouge part of the for me that sort of because
Cool.
there's a lot of real extreme close-ups and then they back out and then so you get that, and it's in a theater. It's about theater, but and so
Yeah.
it's, yeah. So that's why I'm sort of leaned into that part of the film. Also, the multiple roles being played throughout the film, and a lot of, like I said, a lot of gender fluidity in the casting, and which I really appreciate it. And that kind of feels like a throwback to theater,
Yeah.
going back to
Yeah.
Shakespeare's time, even. I mean, is that sort of
Yeah.
where
Yeah, like for me, like I guess it like in my lifetime, like I think I first sort of started to see that when I started watching Monty Python
yeah,
movies and SNL, and I just thought it was so delighted me so much to see actors swapping around to play. It's like, okay, there's four guys in this comedy troupe, but someone has to play the mom. And there's just so much joy in the freedom that comes from being able to step into whatever character you have to out of necessity almost. So I just always have found that really funny and fun as a performer. So I thought, perfect. Four actors, and there's what, like, 30 characters or whatever. Like that we just have to figure out who's who. And it was like, yeah, so joyous.
and just bringing up Monty Python, I think they exuded more joy
Yeah.
in doing that than I've ever seen in any other sort of comedic troupe. They really had it down.
Yeah,
And
it's like they're having so much fun. I think that's really like more than any inspiration. I think that's kind of what I long for and what I try to chase is like the fun that those guys had some of those days making those things. Like that's the connection between you and the other people that you're acting with when you're cracking each other up doing something absurd. That's like the real like I don't know. The real joy of it all for me is like trying to
yeah,
create situations where I can get closer to that kind of feeling.
yeah, it's just fun from the moment the film opens. There's this sense you're already taken into a kind of different world of cinema that you're not used to seeing. This approach and the look of it brings you right into that, and then you're ready. And I really do feel like when I said when you commit, that's really something that I so appreciate in a filmmaker who was willing to do that. And then you had great people around you. I'm so glad that the cast that you brought in were also a part of this. And I want to talk about them and how let's talk about Leah Doze and Lowen Morrow and we mentioned Ben Petrie and how rehearsals must have been
Mhm.
interesting to say the least, kind of bringing them together and seeing what worked. I'm sure there was a lot of give and take. Or tell me about the sort of the process of moving through this.
Yeah, so kind of in the name of building the troupe, because I find often what I struggle with when I'm acting in a regular movie is sometimes I find, you're so isolated in your character, and, sometimes you can start being territorial of your character, or you can start trying to, like, beg for scraps for your character from the director, and it can just be sort of an isolating existence when you're working in a more conventional way and you're often so siloed and you're a department of one. But so I wanted to try to counteract that. And so in rehearsals, we all played all the different characters. So like Ben would play Gravedigger, I would play Widower, then Lowen would play Widower, then Leah would play Widower, and we would sort of cycle through all the different characters as an effort to try to make discoveries about them as a team and to like, sort of develop them and love them and let them come to life from us instead of from one person and one ego. So that's sort of how we rehearsed. And then approaching closer to the shoot, maybe what feels like a month before or something, I just went to them and said, "Who do you guys want to play?" And funnily enough, they all kind of picked their, like Leah wanted to play creature, Lone wanted to play widower, and Ben wanted to play lover. And there was no competing for those bigger roles. And then, of course, we would just divvy out, like there was three gossips, three sailors, and then a couple other little bit parts. But yeah, I think the rehearsing that way sort of just bonded us as a team. And I'm also a big believer of like, if you hire these brilliant people, like you want their brains on
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And so I just tried in any way I could to develop to practice, practice for the principal photography in a way that would support us on the day and sort of bond us together. And it was very fun doing it with them. It was super, super funny. We had like one long piece of doweling, like wooden doweling, as like the one prop in the rehearsal hall that would rotate through. It would be the finger, it would be the shovel, it would be the priest's cane. And it was so cool just watching my friends wield around this stick for a month or whatever. It was pretty, pretty special.
You're reminding me of a couple of my favorite sequences in the film. I love the sailors scene when they discover the finger. I don't think I'm giving anything
Yeah.
away here. I just
Yeah, I
love that
love it.
scene. I just
Yeah.
love that
Finger.
it's yeah, it's really funny. And to see the costuming and it just adds to it. And I like the gossipers too a lot. There's some very
Yeah,
yeah,
they're fun.
they're
Yeah.
just fun. Because in some ways, there's certain characters who are very serious. I mean, they're
Yeah.
really so there is that contrast throughout the film. You have the very serious, the obsessive characters in
Mhm.
the film, and then you have the silly ones. And
Yeah.
well, I hope I've done enough to describe the film. I feel I'm just sitting here thinking, have we done enough to lay this out? We mentioned Frankenstein. Mentioned the Gravedigger and where she lives, and she's been isolated, it seems, her whole life, and longing for love. What else should people know going in to see Dead Lover?
I think you pretty much nailed it. Maybe yeah, just to prepare yourself for a DIY aesthetic.
Yeah,
Yeah, shot on 16 millimeter, low budget movie. But yeah, I
okay.
think you pretty much nailed it. Yeah.
That's great because I want people to go in with the right kind of expectations. But I want to shift gears here a little bit and talk about coming out of Sundance or the Sundance experience. Let's talk a little bit about that. But before you answer that question, I want to frame this a little bit because, as is the tradition, the director of the Sundance Film Festival, in this case, Eugene Hernandez, during his press conference discussing the festival and the films, brought up your film. He brought up Dead Lover as a film that people should check out, watch, and enjoy. And tell me a little bit about your reaction to Sundance and your reaction to that particular press conference for you.
Yeah, well, I really owe everything to Sundance, like them, like not only programming the film, but then yeah, championing it in that initial press release and stuff just set this film up so nicely for its long life here, played all these different festivals and now into theatrical, like you say. So yeah, really owe it all to them for launching it into the world. And since then, I've been slowly writing my next project in not a dissimilar way, kind of unconventional way as before. I've collected together a couple friends, and we're just sort of collecting ideas and stuff. So actually last night they came over and we read a Sam Shepard play out loud and talked about ideas that came up after reading that play. So yeah, I'm just kind of in like a research and development phase of writing is how it feels. But I hope to shoot a movie hopefully in the next couple of years.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, you come from a very much an indie world. Your
Yeah.
roles have been in very low, mostly low budget films prior to this. It's been fun to watch your career come from that part of the film world where it served you well in the sensibility and the way in making Dead Lover. But I'm by the way, I'm getting ready to do the interview with Honey Bunch for
Oh,
Honey Bunch.
amazing,
Yeah,
amazing,
so that's
amazing.
going to be happening soon. So that was one just prior to this, right? That is now in
Yes.
releases. Honey Bunch is out coming out. Continue to do what you're doing, and the way your career has been going. I'm just couldn't be happier for you. So
Oh, thank you so much, Mike. That means the world. So thank you so
you're
much.
You're welcome. Well, you're welcome. Well, when you've got the lead programmer or the head of Sundance touting your work, and you certainly got to feel like just keep trusting your instincts. I guess you don't need my advice, but trust your
That's
instincts. I
no,
think they've served you well. So, well,
that's
thank
nice
you,
of you
thank you
too.
so much for being
Thank
here.
you, Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh,
What's that? I'm sorry.
oh, it was so enjoyable. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you. The film is called Dead Lover. We've been talking with, I want to make sure writer, director, star, producer. What else? Anything else I'm leaving out that we need
Nah, nothing else important.
to?
There
Okay.
might be a few other straggling, greedy credits that I have, but
Well, I'm sure it was an all hands on deck project. So I'm sure you did a lot of stuff. Grace Glowicki, thank you, thank you, thank you, and look forward to more. I'm looking forward to watching Honey Bunch. So there you go.
awesome. I hope you enjoy it.
All right, we've been talking about Get Dead Lover. By the way, in case somebody just tuned in at the very end, Dead Lover is the film we're talking about. Thank you so much, Grace. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.